Hello and welcome to episode number 99 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where we are, and that's where you can listen to us. This is Jason Finelli, and I am the esports and video gaming insider for Fox PHL The Gambler, and it's a big one. This week, we're going to talk about the Fusion and where they stand right now going into the Kickoff Clash. We're going to talk about the PlayStation State of Play, which may be one of the best they've ever done. Very happy to be able to say that, but it is the truth. And then finally, we're going to wrap up. This is E3 season. There is not an E3 to be had, but it is still E3 season, dang it. And to celebrate the time and the season, to commemorate it correctly, I am going to go back in time and go through the most memorable E3 announcements from all time, in my opinion, at least, going all the way back to the year 2000 and then going up to 2019, which was the last live E3 that there actually was. But before we do any of that, let's get right into, as we normally do, the 6 in 60 seconds. Royal Never Give Up wins the League of Legends Mid-Season Invitational 2022, defeating T1 in an epic 3-2 series. Upcoming fighting game event CEO was announced that by community vote, Dragon Ball FighterZ character Android 21 wearing the lab coat will be banned from competition. Valve has announced the dates for Dota 2's The International 2022, which will run in Singapore from October 8th to October 30th. Elsewhere, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's second trailer was revealed this past Wednesday, introducing the legendaries Koraidon and Miraidon, 2 new professors, Sada and Toro, and 3 new Pokemon in Palmy, Smoliv, and Lechonk. Madden 23 was revealed by EA Sports, boasting new Field Sense technology that will offer, quote, more control at every position. And then finally, Dragon Age 4 has received an official title, Dragon Age Dreadwolf, with more information promised for later this year. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. Yes, lots to talk about. As you can see in the 6 in 60 seconds, things are heating up getting into the gaming, big gaming reveal season. We'll talk about the state of play in in segment 2 of episode number 99. Lots to take in there. But as we do this time of year, let's start with the Overwatch League and start with our beloved Philadelphia Fusion. They're making it hard to love them, to like them at the moment. They're not living up to their full potential, which honestly is to be expected. We've talked at length about the youth on this team, 3 rookies in the rotation of 7 players. And the rookies did get a lot of exposure in the first matches of the year, which I am okay with. However, I would have liked to have seen some more wins, but the more I think about it, the more I think I'm okay with how things went. So, if you recall, 2-0 the first weekend, looked very dominant against Shanghai and the Guangzhou Charge. Week 2 was not quite as fruitful. They played 4 matches, one every day, Thursday through Sunday, and only picked up the win once, beating the Los Angeles Valiant on Saturday. They lost to Seoul, they lost to Cheongdao, and they lost to Hangzhou, who sits at the top of the table in our section, which is very interesting. A bit disappointing, if you ask me. I really thought they would have a better showing in that weekend, at least getting to 4 wins. But 3-3 with a +2 differential, as basically as 500 as you can get. I guess it's something I should be happy about, but I don't really know if it's something that I'm really going to get myself really excited about, especially considering While we did make the kickoff clash, we are in the 4th seed in the East. Our first opponent is those Hangzhou Spark who beat us on Sunday to clinch the number 1 seed. The way the standings look right now, Hangzhou and Shanghai both are 5-1. The map differential, however, is the big difference. Hangzhou is a +8 difference, while Shanghai enjoys a +4. Seoul sits in 3rd place at 4-2 with a +6 differential, and your Fusion at 3-3 in the 4th seed with a +2 differential. The basement is Chengdao at 2-4 with a -4, LA Valiant 1-5 with a -5, and Guangzhou 1-5 with a -11. So the fact that they have played 6 games, they won 1, so they got to 3 maps once, and then only won 2 other maps in the other 5 matches they played, and those losses, that's not so good. Guangzhou may have some things they need to work out as the season progresses. While I am disappointed in a 3-3 start for the Fusion, it could be worse, and 1-5 with a -11 is definitely that. So moving on to now the playoff, which starts tomorrow morning. So this episode will go out at 9 a.m. Eastern time, as it usually does, which means that I will miss the first match of the Fusion's Kickoff Clash tournament life. The match happens Friday at 6 a.m., and I'm recording Thursday night, as I usually do. Philly versus Hangzhou, as I said, with Seoul and Shanghai being on the other side. And the way the schedule works is, it is a double elimination tournament. There are 2 matches per day for the entire weekend, and eventually we will get to our winner. Our division only takes 6 matches to get through the bracket, which I appreciate, even despite the double elimination. And then we will see how things go from there. So, Philly plays Hangzhou and Seoul plays Shanghai, 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. on Friday. And then the losers of those matches play first, June 4th at 6 a.m., so Saturday at 6 a.m., while the winners of those 2 matches play at 7:30. And then Sunday, the losers, the winner of the first losers and the losers of the second round winners, it makes a whole lot more sense if you're looking at the bracket, play Sunday at 6 a.m. And then the grand finals are Sunday at 7:30. Grand finals, Sunday at 7:30. So how do I think our Fusion are going to do? How do I think the Fusion are going to fare in this tournament? To be completely honest with you, I am looking at an 0-2, unfortunately. I really do think. Hangzhou has really surprised me in the early going. Their play is very tight. The match that they played against us tested their resolve, and they passed the test. They went up 2-0. We came back with 2 straight maps, looking for the reverse sweep, and they denied us that reverse sweep. So that's a testament to their endurance and their mindset. And I do think they're going to beat us in the first round. I'll put it back at 3-2. I don't think it's going to be an absolute blowout, but I would say 3-2 Fusion, which will knock us into the losers round against the loser of Seoul and Shanghai. And even though we blanked Shanghai 3-0 in their first match of the season, they have not lost since. And already, even though it's been 6 matches, a Shanghai team now is completely different than the one that we beat 3-0 in the beginning of the year. They just are. They're just different. So with that in mind, I do think we will lose to Shanghai in the losers round 1, knocking us out of the tournament. Now, do I think there could be an upset there? Yes, I do. I do think that having the win over Shanghai gives us a bit of a mental edge, and we can capitalize on that to knock them out of the tournament entirely. Do I think it's going to happen? No. And even if it did, I think in losers round 2, our goose would be cooked by either Seoul or Hangzhou. Seoul has had our number for years now, basically ever since we joined the Eastern Conference, and Hangzhou in the early going seems to be the darling of the ball of the Eastern Conference in this 2022 season. So I do think Fusion will have an early exit, whether that early exit is Saturday morning at 6 a.m. or Sunday morning at 6 a.m. I don't know, but I do not think they'll make the grand finals, and I certainly don't think they're going to win the grand finals. And that's really no fault I'm not trying to be a downer on the Fusion. I'm not trying to be the kind of guy who's like, oh, they're terrible. No, it's not that. At moments they're showing flashes of brilliance. They really are. At moments I really am enjoying the way they're playing, the way they're approaching, the way that they're, handling opponents. It's just, I think that the cohesion and the chemistry still has to manifest in this young team, and I just don't think it's there yet. It's nice to make the tournament, limp into the tournament, unfortunately, but it's nice to make it in there to begin with. And I do think that there is a potential that they could make a small run. I do think that small run would be in the losers bracket, however, which would mean it would only be one match. Winning one match in this tournament would be a victory for me, whether that's their first match or a losers match. One win. I will take 3-1, 3-0, or 3-2 set from the Fusion and consider it a positive going into the mid-season madness, I think it's called. Mid-season madness is the second tournament of the year. So going into that, I would be very happy with mid-season madness, June and July. One win in this kickoff clash bracket, and I'm a happy guy. So that's where the Fusion sit. Unfortunately, like I said, an 0-2 is what I see on the horizon, but we'll see what happens there. As for the Western Conference is playing as we speak on this Thursday night, as I am recording this for you right now. The winners' first round has already had a couple matches decided. They started at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday the 2nd. San Francisco Shock 3-2 over the Washington Justice. Atlanta Reign 3-1 over the Florida Mayhem, bumping Washington and Florida to the bottom bracket. LA 3-0 over Houston. And the Dallas Fuel are currently up, as of this recording, 1-0 on the Toronto Defiant. Now, I don't know how that's going to end, obviously, between now and the end of the show. I'll keep an eye on it to see where they stand. But that would move Dallas into a match against LA tomorrow at 4:30. And then the bottom bracket would be Washington versus Florida and Houston versus Toronto. I do think San Francisco is going to win this kickoff clash. I do think they're going to take Atlanta. I do think they're going to beat either it's Dallas or LA in the winners round 3. And I actually think that LA is going to make a small run in the losers bracket and make it a West Coast San Francisco versus LA final in the Western region. And I do think that San Francisco will win that. But again, this tournament is wide open as well. San Francisco only seems to be the only real constant as far as the league is concerned. Everything else is up in the air. So we'll see. Maybe somebody can shock San Francisco and send them to the bottom bracket. Maybe they just run through everybody, and that's that. As I'm talking right now, Dallas is taking a 2-0 map lead on Toronto, so we're getting ever closer to that Dallas versus LA second round matchup, and Toronto versus Houston losers bracket matchup. But yes, so I do think San Francisco will win from the West. And if I had to guess in the East, I actually am going to choose the Seoul Dynasty. Hangzhou, I'm still nervous about, only because obviously they've had a good run in the first part of the season, but that can fall apart at any time. Please see the Philadelphia Fusion in 2021 for an example of that. I need to see more of them. I need to see more of how they play and how they're gelling and how their chemistry is before I will consider them Giant Slayers. And there are two Giants sitting on the other side of the bracket, whether it's Seoul or Shanghai, let's not forget, are the defending champions. And the only reason Hangzhou is playing Philadelphia in round 1 and Shanghai is playing Seoul is because Hangzhou won more maps. That's it. So no matter who they play in round 2, I think they'll get knocked down. And then from there, I think they will get knocked out again. And honestly, I think we'll have a first-round rematch in Seoul versus Shanghai in that final. And for whatever reason, I think Seoul can beat Shanghai, despite Shanghai probably being the favorite if that should shake out. Something about Seoul Dynasty, man. They really... I don't know if I want to be impressed or terrified or concerned. Just something about them, even with the bit of roster turnover that they had over the 2021 season, still playing very effective Overwatch. And it is a lot of fun to see, especially in this new format. But there you go. That's your kickoff clash. That's where Overwatch League sits right now. After the tournament is over on June the 5th, I believe they have a week off. They are. I believe they're taking a week off in between the tournament, the Kickoff Clash tournament, and getting back into the mid-season madness. Yes, that is correct. So next week, while all the Summer Game Fest stuff is happening, Overwatch League is actually taking the week off, and then they will be back again Thursday, June 16th at 3 o'clock for matchups. Same schedule as before, where the first 2 weeks will be all Western, and then weeks 3 and 4. Oh, I'm sorry, no, the Eastern Conference comes back in week 8, so they'll have an extra week off instead of being 2 matches in the 3rd week of the round and then 4 matches in the 4th week. It's going to be 2, 2, and 2. So we'll have 3 weeks of 2 matches each, as opposed to backloading week 4 with 4 matches. They will play the Valiant. The Fusion will play the Valiant Friday, June 24th at 6 a.m. and the Chengdao Hunters Saturday at 9 a.m. Thank you for the 9 a.m. start time there. Very much appreciated. In week 9, the Fusion will take on the Hangzhou Spark July the 1st at 6 a.m. and Shanghai July the 2nd at 9 a.m. Happy birthday to my wife. The Fusion are playing Shanghai before you even wake up. And then July the 8th, 6 a.m., the Fusion will play Guangzhou. And then Sunday, July the 10th at 6 a.m., Seoul versus Philadelphia. So that's where the 6 matches shake out for the next tournament. I do enjoy that the Eastern Conference is structured so that every team plays every other team once every time. I do like that. It builds a familiarity. It allows the teams to gel just a little bit faster, if you ask me. But how that's going to affect, should we have any exposure to Western Conference teams, I don't know. I do know the Mid-Season Madness tournament, unlike the Kickoff Clash where the tournaments are staying separate, Mid-Season Madness will combine the 2 leagues in some fashion. I believe it'll be top two from each side will meet in the Mid-Season Madness finals. So if Philadelphia were to be fortunate enough to be part of that, we would get our first glimpse of how they would handle Western teams. You'd imagine they'd play a San Francisco or a Dallas or someone else high up in the ranks, but it remains to be seen. We'll have to see where those things shake out from there. But right now, Kickoff Clash, by the time this podcast comes out, their first match will have ended. So check out the results or the replay on YouTube if you want to see how they fared. Or you can check their Twitter when you first wake up like I do. Though I wake up just a little bit after kickoff, for lack of a better term, so I'll be able to check it out eventually. But first match tomorrow, 6 a.m. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you get the results if you missed it. And then keep an eye on those Fusion to see if they can get through the Kickoff Clash and bring the trophy home for the first tournament of the 2022 season. Coming up after the break, we're going to wrap up PlayStation's State of Play from June the 2nd. A very, very good show. Perhaps one of the best State of Plays of all time. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode 99. Moving right along here to the June 2nd State of Play by PlayStation. A loaded show, as it ended up being. State of Plays get a bit of a bad rap among the different presentations that happen because they tend to disappoint as opposed to being compared to like Nintendo Directs or something like that. They don't have quite as many heavy-hitting announcements. They don't have quite as many, oohs and ahs as other shows do. They have had moments, don't get me wrong. There have been some pretty good State of Plays that have come out. But the majority of them tend to be a little underwhelming in the eyes of the greater gaming population. This one was not. This one was absolutely 100% banger from beginning to end. Starts off with a huge bang. We get a random date across the screen, 3/24/2023, and then some Spanish guitar music, not knowing what the heck is going on, and suddenly the words Resident Evil appear on the screen with the number 4. So Capcom opening the show with the Resident Evil 4 remake for PlayStation 5, also will be on Xbox Series X, as was revealed later on, and will include content for PSVR 2. Now, going into this, PSVR 2 was mentioned as one of the big focuses of this event, the other being third-party titles. So this one had a little bit of both. It was a third-party title from Capcom. They announced that there would be VR content for the game in VR 2. So that's pretty cool. So March 24th, 2023, Resident Evil 4 Remake, an update on what looks to be the level of Resident Evil 2's remake. Next up, we stuck with Resident Evil, and we stuck with PSVR. Resident Evil Village, most recent Resident Evil game, also coming to PSVR 2. Should be a very good piece of news for the thirstier gamers among us. I'll be able to see Lady Dimitrescu in full VR. Between Pokemon yesterday, or Pokemon earlier in the week with the professors, and Lady D in VR now, the thirstier among us are eating good, or drinking good, I guess, as the case may be. Next announcement, again, sticking with VR, the next couple announcements were for VR. We got Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, called Retribution. PSVR, one of the best games on PSVR is the first Saints and Sinners chapter, so to see a sequel coming out is very cool. New weapons were shown in this trailer, including a chainsaw that really mowed through some hapless zombies. Really cool stuff there. So a cool trailer if you're into VR. Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 coming out soon. No Man's Sky also adding VR. Let's talk about No Man's Sky for a second. Perhaps one of the biggest comeback stories in all of video games. This game started as a very disappointing, very bare bones sort of game, and has slowly built and built and built and built until now it's a thriving live service game with a very dedicated fan base, and honestly one of the coolest games out there to play right now if you haven't played it before. It really has made quite a turnaround in getting back where it needs to be, and VR support with PSVR 2 is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. Maybe I'll actually give it more of a shot on VR, who knows, but cool stuff. Moving on now to the next announcement. The last announcement of the VR section was Horizon Call of the Mountain. Now, we knew that Horizon was getting a VR game. We found this out back in CES when the PSVR 2 was randomly detailed on a Tuesday night out of nowhere by PlayStation, giving their CES address. But we got a little more on Horizon Call of the Mountain, some fresh visuals, a little reference into who we'll be playing as. We will not be being Aloy, we'll be someone brand new. And we got to see some first-person, through-the-eyes combat with some of the biggest monsters in Horizon. Very cool stuff. Horizon seems like a game that could really thrive in VR as long as the stories stay on the side. They don't really impact the main story a whole lot. But still one that I will definitely give a shot to when that comes out. Horizon Forbidden West, a smooth transition into the rest of the show. Horizon Forbidden West is getting a new update out today with a harder difficulty, new game plus, brand new weapons, and stuff like that. So a cool little update for those who are still playing Horizon Forbidden West. Fantastic game. Finished it back when it launched in February. Highly recommend you give it a shot if you haven't yet, as it will be one of the top games on PS5 when the year is out, without question. Next, another surprising announcement in the PlayStation to PC realm. PlayStation's been putting a lot of their games on PC recently. Most of their first-party heavy hitters have joined the PC realm. We have God of War, who was there, Horizon, who was there. The first one, I don't think the second one's there yet. But the newest one to join is Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man Remastered will hit PC in August, with Miles Morales coming in the fall. This actually brings me to an interesting nitpick, I guess, a critique that I have of State of Plays in general. This has been something that's been happening with State of Play for a while now. So the trailers will come out, right? We'll watch the trailers, we'll enjoy them, we'll all have a good laugh at what's happening in the trailers. But then the PlayStation blog comes out, and the PlayStation blog has all this crazy detail, including, other big parts of the game that the trailers didn't get to. Now, I understand that you can't get to all of the big information in the State of Play trailer. That's impossible. The State of Play is only 30 minutes. You only have so much time dedicated for your specific trailer. But I feel like Miles Morales also coming to PC is a big enough announcement to warrant some screen time in the State of Play. It didn't get it. It was only announced in the PS blog. I'm not quite sure why they made that decision. Putting Miles Morales right next to the Spider-Man remastered logo, would have been pretty cool, but they didn't do it. Otherwise, regardless, Spider-Man coming to PC should make PC players very, very happy. First in August, and then Miles Morales later this fall. The next announcement was one that I was very excited for. This is a game that I have been anticipating ever since it was first announced at one of the first PlayStation showcases for PS5 in 2020. This is a game called Stray, where you are playing as a stray cat in a big urban world filled with robots. And there's some stealth involved. There's some puzzle solving and things like that. That game got a release date of July 19th. And was also the first ever game to be confirmed day and date launching on PlayStation Plus Extra, the new PlayStation Plus that's coming out that I detailed a couple of weeks ago. Stray will be day one for anyone who gets Extra or Premium. That's really cool. I had planned on trying it out, so it looks like I'll be getting Stray day one. Very exciting for me, and I'm very excited to play the Silly Cat game. Next up is a brand new trailer for the Callisto Protocol, a scary, freaky-looking Dead Space game that originally began development as a spin-off of PUBG before becoming its own universe entirely, which is good because I would hate to see how PUBG connects back to this absolute horror show that Striking Distance Studio put on for us with Callisto Protocol. Now, the connective tissue does make sense, as the creator of Dead Space runs this studio, Striking Distance, so you can definitely see the influences from the previous project on this new one. Also receiving a release date of December 2nd, coming late in the year, which is also very surprising. Wasn't sure if that one would make 2022 or not. Looks like it's going to sneak in right at the finish line. Could be a very exciting and successful game right at the end of the year, just in time for the end-of-year awards. Though it probably wouldn't make Game Awards coming out too late. It'd have to go the next year. Number six. The next announcement on the list is Roller Drome. This one starts, and it looks like another indie game called Sable, with an interesting colorized art style, almost cel-shaded sort of thing going on. But instead of an adventurer going through this vast desert world, we get a girl on roller skates shooting people. Took me by surprise, wasn't quite sure what was going on, but another indie title. One of those indie titles that's flashy enough to get trailers and stuff like this. Definitely good for a state of play feature or something of the like. But an interesting game nonetheless, and one that I'm interested in to check out later on this year, I believe. I believe it was later 2022. It might be early 2023, but I believe it was later this year. Next up is a game that I admit, off the top of my head, I discounted. It's not going to be one that I am personally going to play, but I understand the market. Anime adventures are a big thing. This brand new one called Eternites is not only a action adventure sort of like anime hack and slash sort of game, it's also a dating sim, which is an interesting sort of combination of genres, not two genres you would expect to be matched up next to each other, especially when the very first thing you see in this trailer is an anime boy getting his arm cut off. So I'm interested to see where that story goes. Again, I won't play it, but I will certainly talk to people and listen to people who have played it, just to see what's going on there. But Eternites, interesting trailer there. Next up is my highlight of the entire show, my favorite part of this presentation, of which there were many good things. Street Fighter 6, the first trailer for the game, first gameplay trailer, and a whole bunch more was shown off in the state of play. We saw a little bit of what's called World Tour mode, which seems to be an open world sort of adventure where you can just randomly challenge people on the streets to fight you. That's interesting. We saw some core gameplay with 4 characters. Ryu and Chun-Li, as you would expect. Luke, who was the last new character in Street Fighter V and bridged the gap to Street Fighter 6. And another brand new character, which could be Jamie, could be Jaime. I'm not sure. They haven't heard his name spoken yet. But there's a drunken fist element to this new character, doing a lot of flashy kicks and punches. Very, very cool looking character there. So that was cool to see for 4 characters right off the top. It looked like there may have been a bit of a tease for 2v2 for a second there, but that never really panned out in the gameplay. That would be interesting if it implemented some sort of tag feature, a la like a Tekken Tag or a Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that. And then at the very end, it showed what was called the Battle Hub. Looks like an online sort of lobby area, kind of like how Arc System Works does it, where players can meet up with each other and challenge each other right then and there. And on the back wall, flashing is, here comes a new challenger, Kimberly, another brand new character coming to the game. Just an image, just one little picture of Kimberly. I'm sure we'll see more before the game releases in 2023. Sometime in 2023. There was not a specific date given. It just said 2023. Interested to see where the roster goes from here. I'm getting some Street Fighter 3 vibes, like it's only going to be Ryu, Chun-Li, and maybe one other recognizable name, and then the rest will be brand new characters. I could see them doing that for multiple reasons, symbolic reasons, because it's a brand new studio, a brand new team. A lot of the leadership and a lot of the developers have moved on. Could be doing it in that sense. Could be a homage to Street Fighter 3, which was 3 games ago, this being 6. That was 3, doubling down on the notions of the previous game. Could be an interesting approach there as well. But we'll see. I'm only basing that on the fact that other than Ryu and Chun-Li, the 3 characters we've seen are all non-legacy. Luke, I guess, is technically legacy, but I consider him new for Street Fighter 6. But we'll see. And again, another example of news that was not shared in the presentation that's really, really cool. The commentary for the game will be actual FGC commentators. 13 different names will be put into the game as commentary in what's called real-time commentary, with Vicious and Aru being named the first 2. That's pretty cool. Interested to see who else they pull for that. I'm hoping like Yipes gets named. I'm hoping there are a lot of names I could think of that would be awesome for commentary in this game. Maybe they'll add more in the future as more people make themselves known. 3 more trailers going on here. First, we had Tunic, which was a big launch for Xbox earlier in the year. That will be coming to PlayStation on September 27th. Season, A Letter to the Future, which is an indie game that we have not seen since the Game Awards 2020. Got a brief little introduction into what's going on there. Nice trailer, very interesting visuals like purple grass and big blue skies and stuff like that. Not sure if it's my kind of game, but it's one I might keep an eye on and check out for myself. That did not get a release date, I don't think, but a good trailer just to let us know that it still exists when we haven't seen it in nearly 2 years. And then the final piece of the State of Play puzzle was Final Fantasy XVI, a massive 4 to 5 minute trailer showing off a lot of the characters in the game, the combat, which looks fast and furious, and the interesting summon versus summon sort of battle, which had a bit of like turn-based slant to it, a bit of like I was getting fighting game vibes, even though it's not quite fighting game. An interesting situation going on here. I'm curious how they're going to build on that. But a strong showing, nice game there, and then at the end it said summer 2023, and that was a bit of a downer. But then it came out later on, not through PlayStation Blog this time, through Square Enix's personal Twitter, or actual Twitter account, that the main director of this game, Naoki Yoshida, who also made Final Fantasy XIV, says that the game is finished, completely done, but they're going to take a year or more to just polish it. That is awesome. The fact that they're going an entire year for polish, it could mean 2 things. A, there's a ton of polish to do. Let's hope they can get it done in a year. Or B, they know they could release it now, but they want to make sure everything is perfect. Either way, I like the decision. I hope it works out for them. And the fact that it still exists and we get a second trailer after almost a year of not getting one at all, I dig it. So nice to see Final Fantasy XVI again. The only notable absence of what was shown in this State of Play that I can think of is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. But Final Fantasy XVI kind of takes the place of that. So I'm not too disappointed in the absence of Cloud and Tifa and the gang. Like I said, Street Fighter 6 is my favorite announcement, but Resident Evil 4 is up there, Final Fantasy 16 up there, and Stray is up there. But a great show. I highly recommend that you go check it out on YouTube. PlayStation's official YouTube has the replay, and you can see all the announcements and trailers there for yourself. Coming up after the break, we go over my favorite or most memorable E3 moments from the history of E3. My earliest one is 2000, and my latest one is the last one, 2019. We've got a wide range to cover, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. Stick around. All right, finally tonight, Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode 99, rolling into the final segment of the evening. Let's go down memory lane and talk about E3. Now, E3 is not happening this year. They decided to take one more year off and come back live in 2023. Whether or not that's a good idea, we'll find out. Whether or not the show will be the same as it was pre-pandemic remains to be seen. Depending on who you asked, it was on the decline a couple years before the pandemic. I still really liked it, but I guess I had some rose-colored glasses on and ignored certain things. No comment. But I did want to take the time, since we are in the big reveal season with Summer Game Fest next week, State of Play today, Thursday night as I'm recording. We talked the Nintendo Direct might have something coming up. Xbox has their presentation on Sunday the 12th. So it is a time to look back fondly at all of the big announcements that were made in E3's lifespan. And I've gathered a list of 10 that, off the top of my head, make me very happy. Some of the ones I think of most fondly. The majority of which I was in the room for. I think there are four of the 10 I was not in the room for. The rest I were. So more than half. That's pretty good. But these are memories that I have from E3's past, and some of the biggest crowd pleasers or biggest cheers or biggest surprises, most memorable E3 moments of its history, according to me. The first one, 2015. 2015 was an interesting year for Xbox. Project Scorpio, which was the Xbox Series X, was still not quite there yet, still a little bit on the horizon. Xbox One was about 2 years old at this point, or a year and a half old at this point. And it needed something to really jazz the system up after what was a less than stellar launch compared to its predecessor, or compared to its competitor. Excuse me. So Phil Spencer comes out onto the stage and announces that backwards compatibility is coming to Xbox One, and the crowd went absolutely bonkers for it. The fact that we could play 360 games and original Xbox games, both downloadable and through discs, was a huge win for that E3, and really one of the precursors to the Game Pass situation that we have now, the Game Pass subscription, where you just get a bunch of games for the subscription free of charge. Not free of charge, included in the subscription, I should say. Instead of just getting the online, you get a full library of games that you can play immediately once you have the subscription. Backwards compatibility and just the way that it was implemented, you can see the foundation of Game Pass being laid in the way that they approached backwards compatibility. Is it completely the same? No, of course not. But there was definitely some connective tissue back then between the two ideas if you put them next to each other. But I remember that crowd going crazy for backwards compatibility, more so than I expected, to be honest. I thought it would be popular, but man, they really dug it, that crowd in 2015. Huge cheers and claps. Really cool announcement. It was great to be there. Going ahead 3 years now to the Ubisoft E3 conference in 2018, where Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, the first one, was revealed for the first time. And the game itself is very, very good. So I'm not going to harp too much on the gameplay itself. What makes this a key moment, or a most memorable moment for me, is Shigeru Miyamoto, a creator of Mario, creator of Zelda, one of the driving minds behind Nintendo as a whole, comes out on stage, makes a grand entrance, stands with Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot. They have a great picture moment. They talk a little bit about the game, and then the camera pans to the creative director of the game, David Soliani, who was in tears, just overwhelmed with emotion and happiness and gratitude that a game that he was spearheading had created this fantastic moment on the stage. And he stands up, he takes his bow, he gets his well-deserved applause, and he sits back down, in delight that Miyamoto and Miyamoto coming to Ubisoft at all, but then Miyamoto and Guillemot making this moment with a game that he is in charge of. And I imagine that probably feels pretty good. You know what I mean? It's good that the game turned out well also, with a sequel on the way. In fact, we should probably hear about it sometime this summer. But the fact that he was able to have this moment, very, very cool. And it really humanizes game devs. I think one of the biggest complaints about game that I would have in the gaming industry now is that the developers are not as openly available. Some of them are. There are obviously some big-time visionary, get out in front of it, the public people, like your Joseph Fares, your Hideo Kojima, stuff like that. I'm talking about the grunts who are, in the programming trenches doing all that, the people who are animating, stuff like that. Those people who do, like, the nuts and bolts, the basic stuff, I feel like we could all benefit from seeing them more. So to see a creative director like this in this human moment, this really human, emotional moment, was really cool. Next one, we're going back 11 years from 2018 to 2007 and the creation of one of the most infamous meme lines in video game history, "My body is ready." Now, E3 2007 had a big announcement, in my opinion, in that Super Smash Bros. Brawl was supposed to come out December 3rd, 2007, was delayed twice, once to February 10th and the second to March 9th when it finally came out. But "My body is ready" is in reference to the Wii Fit that was being unveiled for the first time. The game that came with the Wii balance board that you stood on, and you did different sorts of exercise activities, whether it was yoga or whether it was like a skiing or hula hoop sort of game, just to get you up and moving and exercising and stuff like that. But Reggie Fils-Aimé, the then president of Nintendo, standing on the stage saying, "My body is ready," before he gets on there. It's just a very funny moment, very, very heartwarming moment from E3's past, and again, the inception of the fantastic meme, "My body is ready." Very, very cool stuff there. Now, if we're talking about how E3 makes things happen that seemed unspeakable at the time, and honestly seems unspeakable now, we have to visit 2010, PlayStation's E3 2010 conference, first PlayStation conference I ever attended, when they still had that spokesperson whose name eludes me at the moment, but the blonde-haired guy who would come out and be like boisterous for Sony in those very, admittedly very funny commercials. But one of the big announcements from this was Portal 2 coming to PS3, and they brought Valve's Gabe Newell out on stage to a humongous pop from the crowd who were not expecting him at all. I thought that will always sit in my mind because I'm sitting on the balcony in PlayStation watching this pan out. And not being a PC guy, I understand who Valve is. What Valve is and who Gabe Newell is. I understand those things. But him being on the Sony stage, I'm like, what? It was going to come for PS3 the whole time. Why is it a big deal that he's here? I'm not thinking that this guy basically created PC gaming as we know it today with Steam and stuff like that, or his company did it. So for him standing on Sony stage with one of his games is pretty neat. So historically a big moment, but one that if you didn't know who he was, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to you. You would just be like, who is this man talking to me like this? But very, very cool moment, especially one to be in the room for. Now this next one, many people might not remember or know about as it comes to us from E3 2000. One of the most fundamental moments in modern presentation history, let alone E3 history. That is the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo. It's where companies realized that at a convention like E3 or in a setting like a press conference or a Nintendo Direct or what have you, you didn't just need slow, snappy trailers with a bunch of info stuffed into them. You could try things a little bit differently and just release a 9 to 10 minute demo of your game for people to watch and consume. And that's what Metal Gear Solid 2 did. It had a full extensive demo of the tanker mission that was just played in real time as people watched. They cheered, they oohed, they awed, the whole nine. Just a very, very foundational idea in modern E3, which is why you see some gameplay, long gameplay trailers instead of just snappy 2 to 3 minute story trailers or what have you. It was a big, big thing for Metal Gear Solid 2 back in 2000, to the point where if you talk to somebody who was there, they can't stop talking about it. So just a cool moment and one that would set the table for many E3s to come. Metal Gear Solid 2 on the countdown as well. Have a couple of more recent ones next. First, 2019, the last E3 before the pandemic. How could I go a single minute without mentioning Keanu Reeves and You're Breathtaking? Coming out as a surprise part of Cyberpunk, playing the character of Johnny Silverhand. It was one thing to see his head in the trailer. It was another thing to see him walk out on stage and talk about it. Just a tremendously magical moment. I was in the crowd for that. Sitting next to a good buddy of mine, Dan Hevia, and we were just lapping it up. The fact that he was there was so very cool. Fun fact, this is also the presentation where Elden Ring debuted for the first time, and that game finally came out this year. So Lord knows when E3s will be back. But I have to say, Keanu Reeves as a ending is a pretty good one, should something happen. Going back a couple years to 2016, and all I have to say about this one is, boy, Kratos, new God of War, debuting at the top of PlayStation's E3 conference that 2016 year. As I mentioned before, my reaction to it is caught in the Raising Kratos documentary on YouTube. You can see me staring at the screen with my hand over my mouth, just a gape at what's going on. Very cool trailer. Set the table for that entire year, and good stuff. Really hard to deny how fun it was to see that demo in the front row and just have people screaming all around me about how cool it looked. I'll never forget that. Never forget it at all. And I don't have to, because I can see it on YouTube in multiple places. Next is 2006. We go back a little bit to the most interesting way to unveil a game ever created: putting a tattoo on your body or on your person of that game's title. And in 2006, Peter Moore, who was a high-ranking official at Microsoft, was getting ready to announce that a new game, a new highly requested game, was coming to the Xbox 360. But he wanted to do it in a flashy way, so he tattooed the words Grand Theft Auto on his arm, lifted up his sleeve, and there it was. Interesting choice. It really was. Interesting choice. But Peter Moore was a very interesting man back when he was in the gaming industry. He did Xbox, he was at EA for a while, and then he left to do other things outside of the industry. But he was an interesting person for sure. Definitely one to look up if you have not ever heard him speak before. Definitely would check that out. The last more modern one, 2015, was PlayStation's hat trick of haymakers, starting with The Last Guardian finally being revealed, having a little more information about that game come out. The next was Shenmue 3, a game that nobody thought would ever exist, and ended up existing on Kickstarter. It was a trailer to announce a Kickstarter, which was weird, but still, Shenmue 3 was on the way. Whether or not that game did well, I'll leave that to the Shenmue fans. But, Shenmue 3 was a big trailer in that presentation as well. And then finally, the biggest trailer of them all from that year, the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake, the creation, the confirmation that the game was being worked on. A very rudimentary trailer, no in-game thing or anything like that. But there it was, Final Fantasy VII Remake in the flesh. Very hard to deny something like that. And a very cool announcement for that E3 2015. So I'm trying to remember what Nintendo did at E3 2015 to see if it measures up with backwards compatibility or the PlayStation hat trick, Last Guardian, Shenmue 3, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I don't know that there is. So unfortunately, we'll just go with that. And then finally, the biggest one of all, and whenever I think of E3, it's the first thing I think of, is the Zelda Twilight Princess reveal in 2004, complete with Shigeru Miyamoto coming on stage with the Master Sword and the Hylian shield. Just absolutely loved everything about it. The pomp, the pomp and circumstance, the pageantry, all of that, and what makes E3 so great was evident in that video. Still is. I watched a couple of these for this piece, and that still holds up to this day, seeing Miyamoto out there with the sword, swinging it around, holding the shield. Just really cool stuff. So if you have some time, check that out on YouTube. It's everywhere. You can't miss it. And those are some of my most memorable E3 moments of all time. I know I've forgotten some, so if you have any, please feel free to let me know on Twitter at BigManFinelli, or wherever else you may find me on socials. But E3, I miss you. We're going to do the digital thing this year, but I'm really, really hoping that you can come back better than ever in the future and deliver that gaming news just the way you used to, right to us in a huge 3-day convention party that I fly across the country for. Please, please, please come back. Oh, please. And with that, we are at the end of episode 99 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. As I say every week, if you're listening to this sentence right now, that means you are at the end of the podcast, and I very much appreciate you for it. I appreciate you listening. I hope you're entertained. I hope you're educated. I hope you're having fun with what I'm putting out, and I look forward to putting out more for you in the coming weeks. Next week, episode number 100. I have an interview coming up, episode 100, that may be one of the biggest interviews I've ever done in my entire life. And I don't mean in time, I mean in who it is. And it's a wonderful interview with this person. Some great insight given, some great responses to questions that were answered. It's a whopper. It's a long one. It's about 35 minutes long, but it's worth every second to listen to. I am very, very excited to share it with you next week for episode 100. And I hope that you enjoy it and this week's episode just as much as I have. So, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you have a fantastic week right behind that. And we will be back next week for episode 100 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers. I hope your body is ready. Goodbye.